You know how I said at the beginning of last week's tips video where I basically said I'd be sooner dead than get a perfect round? Would have been ironic if I did actually go perfect in that round. Except the Bulldogs didn't beat Brisbane, but you know. Hello guys, ET99 here. Welcome to NRL Tips and Predictions round 21. We're getting into the sticky point of the season. Oh, sticky, wow. So the opening match to kick us off is the complete opposite, actually, of discussing about whether or not it's making the finals. It is currently 16th versus currently 17th. It is the St George Illawarra Dragons taking on the West Tigers. Kind of a prelude to the Spoon Bowl, really. But it is having some significance because if the Tigers do lose this game, they are mathematically ruled out of the finals. I mean, yes, you could have probably put a line from a while ago, but this is officially where it's mathematically impossible they cannot make the top 8. Obviously, the Dragons had a bye last week, but when they last played, they actually had a fairly decent showing against the Canberra Raiders, got around 26 points. So, you know, they're actually a very concise and seeded effort, so good things there. And the Tigers actually had a fairly decent effort as well against the Knights. They did end up getting the loss, but to be completely honest, if Jareem Buller didn't play, it would have been a lot worse. Like, I do understand that there is going to be a lot of talks about the significance of stuff this much, but it's just, like, I don't know. I just think, unfortunately, for the Tigers, I think the Dragons are going to win and increase that gap, making it ever more likely that the West Tigers are going to get back-to-back wooden spoons. Now we move on to Friday, 6 p.m, and oh boy, we have got actual tasty one. We got a big steak order to start off on Friday. It is the New Zealand Warriors taking on the Canberra Raiders, 5th versus 4th in New Zealand. What's there to say? Canberra, as previously mentioned, did have a bye in the previous week, but the last time they played was the win against St George, and the Warriors are coming off an absolute thumping of the Cronulla Sharks in New Zealand. Obviously, the Warriors with a massive win over Cronulla, and this is another game as well, can push them up really into potentially like top 4 contention, which is nuts, thinking about how the preseason predictions were going. But it's going to be a tight game, I think. I think you got two really good teams. Two teams that have kind of been like underestimated in the preseason, but absolutely going to dominate and participate, have a jolly good game of rugby league. But I do think the Warriors are going to take the win. The Wars train is going choo-choo. Now we go to the final game on Friday, and we have another game where it is two top 8 contenders, as we have the South Sydney Rabbitohs hosting the Brisbane Broncos on the Sunshine Coast. I swear to God, Brisbane have not left Queensland like ever this season. 3 games in a row, and it is another team who had a bye last week, and the Brisbane Broncos, a little bit shaky at Belmore last week, but were able to have a solid second half performance to get the win there. Interestingly enough, the market is looking into South Sydney taking the win. It's going to be seeing probably players coming in, stuff like that. But Brisbane are also like a very good team. Apparently, I think Reece Walsh, it's his first game back after suspension of calling a referee a see you in the NT, because you can't say it on YouTube. It's treated as bad as the N-word. I'm not joking, by the way. It's real. But basically, I think this is going to be a very close matchup. And it's hard to say. Like, I want to give it to South, but it's just, I just can't, unfortunately. I'm going to still have faith in Brisbane. I think Brisbane will take the win on Friday night. Now we move on to the Saturday games as we go to the 3 p.m. and we have the Gold Coast Titans hosting the Sydney Roosters. The Gold Coast Titans were on the final game of round 20 against the Parramatta Eels, as the game I'd like to describe as what a stroke's like. What the hell was that match? And the Sydney Roosters are coming off a loss to the Melbourne Storm. It's just, they're 14th. They're in the bottom 4. The Roosters. It's just gone horribly for the Roosters this season. And honestly, I don't see them making a charge trying to get up. I think they're done. Yeah, I just don't think the Roosters are just anywhere. I do think the Titans were hard done by. And I just think they're just a better team, and like with their squads and stuff like that. I just think the Titans are going to come in this final because they're charging for the 8 as well, and they're in around the 12th position. So I'm actually going to say I think the Titans should take the win against the Roosters and basically put a nail in the coffin of the of all the people saying that the Roosters were going to get the minor premiership this year. Now we move on to the 5:30 game on Saturday, and this is another big one. Well, for Knights fans like me, but it's the Newcastle Knights up against the Melbourne Storm. How did the Knights lose this? Because that clip's going to be everywhere about Christian Walsh about a month ago. But obviously the Newcastle Knights are coming off a closer than it really should have been win against the West Tigers, and the Melbourne Storm are coming off a win where there was a bit of a comeback late on by the Roosters, but still held on. This is a massive game for the Knights. Like this is a game that defines what happens to us this year. You still got the Storm currently roundabout in the top 4 area, so this is a game that they kind of need to win as well to secure themselves in that top 4 positioning. It's going to be an intense match. Delusion's taking over. I hope the Newcastle Knights win this match. Please. I hope they win. You know, this is one time I actually show a bit of delusion. But I generally think the Knights do have a crack of winning this. It's probably going to be like a massive crowd, you know, be probably like 20, 25,000, you know, just like wanting to beat the Storm. I know we don't have the best record against the Storm, but weirder stuff has happened in terms of this fixture, so I'm hoping, but I don't know. And now we go to the final game on Saturday, and we have the North Queensland Cowboys taking on the Parramatta Eels. See, Parramatta are coming off that 1-point win against the Gold Coast Titans, which definitely wasn't fed to them on a silver platter. I don't know. It's like, a double movement, even though he slid with all the momentum, and if the momentum continued, he probably would have been out on Rose Hill. It's like the fact that Parramatta fans thought they were being robbed in the first half. Like how did Regan Campbell-Gillard not get sent off for like the net? It's like Parramatta. I think they're an all right team. It's just God, they should be a lot better than they are, and they've kind of had to be sort of dragged into getting these results. But they're taking on North Queensland Cowboys, who did get a win over Manly at Brookvale, which has been a bit of a fortress a little bit in terms of the Sea Eagles. So this is going to be an interesting clash. Also, first time these teams will play each other since the prelim final, and you know the controversy about that game to North Queenslanders. But so basically, it's two teams that are complaining about stuff that happened in previous matches, where to me it's not really warranted. But I feel like this game is going to be interesting, and I feel like if the Cowboys do have a solid performance, I think they can get the win. And I just feel if the Cowboys had the performance like they did against Manly and Parramatta aren't dragged to another result, I think the Cowboys should win this somewhat comfortably, and I think the Cowboys are going to take the win over Parramatta. And finally, we now go on to the Sunday game. So at 2 p.m, we will be seeing the Penrith Panthers taking on the Canterbury Bulldogs, aka the future Bulldogs recruits against the Bulldogs. Get it? Because the Bulldogs keep signing Penrith players. Obviously, the Penrith Panthers are coming off a win over the Redcliffe Dolphins. Just, you know, a solid win away from home. It's the type of results you want in this type of season. And the Bulldogs did have a decent fight in them when there's a charitable celebration in order. But obviously, the Bulldogs, it's weird. They had a man advantage and then just did nothing with it in the second half and let Brisbane run back into us. And you can't really have this performance happen when you're taking on a team like Penrith at home. So I think Penrith should easily run away with this win. And now we go into the final game of the round, and it's a bit of an old historic rivalry, to say the very least, as it is the Cronulla Sharks hosting the Manly Sea Eagles. Now, Manly obviously are coming up in a loss against the North Queensland Cowboys, and the Cronulla Sharks are copping a sizable loss over the ditch back in New Zealand. So both teams kind of need to prove a point. Manly if they want to try to make it to the 8, and the Sharks if they want to stay in the 8. So it's a very interesting game. I mean, the Sharks, the last time they got bodied, came out firing in the next match. But I just, it's hard to say. I just don't think Manly, Manly's got the enough firepower really to try to get the Sharks, as the Sharks now have to prove a point. And so that means Nico's going to have the game of his life. He's going to get, I don't know how many points. But I think the Sharks should be able to get the win here. And that is the end of the predictions. Who you guys have this week? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you all later.